I don't get the big introduction.
I'm Brian Bresnahan. I write for the York News Times. Thanks, guys. Jeremy said he wanted me to talk about limited government, and he said I had 3 minutes to do it, so I'll see what I can do. And if I don't make it in 3 minutes, I'm going to invoke the liberal rule where you can judge me by my intentions and not my results, all right? So hopefully limited government is one of the reasons why you're out here. Obviously the Tea Party, one of the cornerstones for us is limited government, small government, not this big cancerous growth that we have going on in Washington, D.C., especially the last year and a half. Government growing limits our freedom, just plain and simple. And when he asked me to talk about it, there were two quotes that came to mind right away, and I'll paraphrase one, you probably know it, and that's that a government big enough to give you everything you need is a government big enough to take all you have, right? The other one's a little more current, not quite so philosophical, but it sure still applies, especially when you think about everything that's going on now. And it's from Glenn Beck, and it's "Get your damn hands off my fries, lady." I love that quote. Because the government, as it gets bigger and bigger, what does it do? It gets into our lives, it gets into our pockets, it gets into our homes, and it gets into our businesses, and it destroys all four of them. And that's why we need a limited government, to keep that from happening. The government getting into our pockets, they take our money and taxes, and they keep taking, and they find new ways to take from us, and they add new taxes and fees and penalties and everything else. And every time they get into our pocket, it takes our ability to succeed economically. It takes economic freedom from us. And so that's why they need to stay out of it. That's why the government needs to stay small. Government growing, getting too big, gets too deep into business. Whether it's the fascist takeover of healthcare and the auto industry, or it's meddling in in our small businesses, it's a problem. It's a big problem because, again, it disrupts those things. What happens with government? You get bureaucracy, you get red tape, you get taxes, all those things that whether you're a small business owner or you're running a big corporation, it takes away from you. And that's why government needs to be smaller. Our founders did not intend for it to be the way it was. Government gets into our lives. And I'll go back to the "get your damn hands off my fries, lady" comment. Because we don't need government. The government was never meant for telling us what kind of food we should have in our refrigerator. It's not for telling us what kind of health care we should have. It's not for all those things that it keeps inserting itself into and keeps finding new ways to insert itself into our lives. It doesn't belong in our lives. And government doesn't need to be in our homes either. I don't need Nancy Pelosi telling me what food I should have in my refrigerator. And I certainly don't need her telling me what kind of refrigerator to have. I don't need her to tell me what kind of light bulbs to have, what kind of shower head to have, and I certainly don't need her telling me what kind of toilet I should have in my house. And quite honestly, the thought of Nancy Pelosi in my bathroom is kind of creepy. But then again, you know, the best place for Nancy Pelosi, her liberal friends, and her progressive agenda come January is right down the toilet. So thank you.